I just got word that the tuning twins have an opening this week to tune my Eclipse GSX, and Cannonball Garage has an opening on their dyno, which can only mean one thing. I have to do everything in my power to get this car ready, well, to make some big power. Now, in the last Eclipse video, I finished up the fuel system with larger injectors, an adjustable fuel pressure regulator, and flex fuel sensor, which should work great with the Hellcat fuel pump I put in the tank. And I also fitted the car with much larger CTSV brake calipers using Terminator Mustang Cobra rotors. And I topped it all off with adjustable coilovers and some sweet Anki wheels. Now, my plan was to roll the fenders and quarters, adjust camber, space out the rear wheels, and fit some, well, kind of crusty Evo 8 brake calipers in the rear. But since our priority is getting this thing ready for the dyno, we have some more engine work to get to. Yeah, it's missing a stud here. Some of you guys have pointed that out. We got a lot to do under the hood to make sure we don't blow up on the dyno. I don't even know why I am jinxing myself 2 days before our dyno session with the term blow up. I'm gonna knock on some wood, some hood, because everything is gonna be totally fine. After all, this is a totally stock engine with only 240,000 miles. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? No, how did this even happen? All right, so since I don't have any maintenance history on this car, I want to get a new timing belt in here. We have some cool new cam gears and a clear cover so we can see everything working. It's going to be great. We're going to replace all sorts of other stuff in this area. But before we get to that, I'm going to remove this exhaust manifold. It has a broken stud. It's not leaking, but it will at some point. So let's get this entire chunk out. First step, let's remove our freezing ice cold air induction system. This beauty right here. To give us more room, I'm gonna remove this side fan. There are 2 more 10s on the bottom that I've already removed, and those are right here. And I'm using a cupcake tin or cupcake tray, whatever these things are called. Mike over at DeLorean Midwest gave me the idea, and yeah, these are the throwaway ones. If you want, you can even label stuff. So fan bolts. Yeah, it's really good handwriting. Note to self, position your hose clamps differently. This is what I hit when I pulled out of my driveway in the last video because we lowered the car. Rock chips galore. Woo! I just scraped for the first time. And now it's scraping on that. I need to turn it. All right, that's much better, and now I won't hit my head on it. Ask me how I know that you can hit your head on those threads walking by. I think I'm bleeding under my hair. Next, we're gonna remove the oil drain. There we go, glued that one in. I'm actually gonna replace this part for a super weird issue. I can't get it to stop leaking from the bottom. It won't seal up against the oil pan. I mean, I guess it could be a warped oil pan or something, but it feels perfectly smooth, so I'm not sure. I've tried a gasket and a combination of gasket and RTV and everything, so maybe this flange is warped, I'm not sure, but we're putting a shiny one on. I'm gonna take the exhaust manifold off with the turbo, so we're gonna disconnect the exhaust from this flange. Now we can pull this off like that. Perfect, and we just let it sit right here. Now I did spray these nuts down a couple of weeks ago in anticipation for this, but we'll do it again. Spray everything. Okay, not right there. You don't need to spray that. So we have a bunch of 12s. Some of them are very difficult to get to, and the 2 end studs are 14s. We'll deal with those later. This top one looks pretty straightforward, and it is turning, which is great. If you guys were around for my last DeLorean video, you know how much of a nightmare the exhaust manifold, studs, and nuts were. I basically had to torch every single one of them. The drill came out, it was bad. And let's hope the Eclipse isn't like the DeLorean. And yes, penetrating oil is currently soaking into my head. Spraying that on the valve cover was pretty dumb. I might have to use the open end of a wrench like this, but whatever, I will take it compared to torching everything. That is not bad. I was kind of running out of room with this raised up boss section of the manifold. I don't know why that's there, but it is. And look at that, our first nut came off. Sweet. I think quarter drive tools are gonna be the ticket here. Come on. Oh, why? Oh no, it's not coming. I haven't gotten a torch yet, but we're busting out the map gas. Should be all we need. We're gonna heat up the nut, expand it, and that should loosen it up. Oh yeah, got it. Woohoo! I did it, map gas for the win. I will get the oxyacetylene torch, guys, I know. I need one, all right? Just been busy. But I think we're gonna be okay because this is a desert car. Into the cupcake mix you go. All right, all the 12s came out with no issue. I'm just using fire on everything though, just to be sure. So now we'll hit the 14s. Oh yeah, no problem. We're good. This is great. All right, one left to do. I've got the last one loosened up. There we go. Let's see how easy this thing is to shimmy up out of here. Ain't nothing but an Eclipse party. There we go. Sweet. That's easy. With this out of the way, we can take a look at our stud or lack thereof. So we'll remove the gasket. This is what we're faced with. It is broken off, recessed inside of the bore. Look at our little exhaust valves. So cute. Hang on, before we start getting into this stud, this is a great opportunity to paint the hot side of this exhaust manifold and the turbo. All right, guys, I've moved the manifold to the paint department, and this is just meant to be a super cheap, quick while you're in there. I have some of this stuff left over. It's like a silver color header paint. So I just wanna paint the manifold. That's really the only part that you can see outside of the cold side of the turbo, which looks pretty good. So I have scraped away any of the rust or dirt and degreased it all, so we're ready to go. They say this stuff is good to 2000 degrees. I don't know, we're gonna find out in the dyno. So really this is an experiment at the end of the day. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Almost as good as my E55 wagon. Now that I have these bad boys, my brand new floor mats from TuxMat. I saw these at a car show a couple months ago, and it's exactly what I had been looking for, and the customer service is awesome. All you have to do to order is click on the link below, type in your car, and you're done. Shipping is totally free and fast, and everything is packaged great. Yes, yes. Installation is a breeze. Just remove your old floor mats and install your TuxMats by sliding them in. They are made specifically for your car, so they contour perfectly and even utilize the factory fasteners if your car has them. They also give you clips that tuck in to hold the sides of the mats. And that's it, guys. Anyone can install these TuxMats. They take a few minutes. They are super high quality, and if you have kids, you know how dirty cars get. These will offer superior protection to any floor mat on the market, and they're super easy to clean. Let me go ahead and put my coffee in my cup. Oh no! Oh man! What am I gonna do? On a normal floor mat, you're totally screwed. The coffee just soaks in. Not with TuxMat though. Look at this. It's just chilling, waiting patiently for you to simply soak it up with a microfiber, just like that. Look at that. You've cleaned your floor mat with coffee. Looks beautiful. Guys, these are seriously the best floor mats. This looks very factory, like OEM plus, and they fit like a glove. Okay, but after you spill your coffee, you do want to spray a cleaner on here just to get the coffee smell out. And you're done. So if you guys want to get a great deal on premium floor mats from TuxMats.com, all you got to do is click on the link down below. Now back to the GSX. All right, guys, after a couple of coats, this is what we have. This will offer no heat protection like a ceramic coating or anything like that. It's strictly cosmetic, and hopefully it doesn't just all flake off later. First step in drilling out an exhaust manifold stud, or drilling in general, is a center punch, especially though when you're doing these manifold studs. Because if you get all loose with drilling, you could drill right into your cylinder head. So what we're gonna be using here is a 90-degree drill with a reverse drill bit. And we're hoping this is all we need, but you never know. So right now I'm drilling right into the center of this manifold stud. See, that's where you want to be. Every once in a while we'll clean this up. That way we can get a good view. I stepped it up one size with the drill bit. The reason I'm using the reverse drill bit first is sometimes it'll just spin the stud out, and we have to drill a hole in it anyway to use a screw extractor, so might as well give us that chance. It didn't work though, so screw extractor time. So we're gonna use a hammer to hit this in, and if we turn it to the left, it could grip the stud and bring it out. So we want it seated nice like that. Okay, let's see, is this working? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, this one's not gonna play nice, guys. We gotta keep drilling. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to drill the hole larger and install some new threads, a helicoil. So this is a larger drill bit. So right now I'm clearing out the rest of the stud that did not wanna go. Of course, right when you start using a larger drill bit, a big piece of stud wants to release itself. There it is. It's too late though, we've already committed to drilling this out. All right, now we can lubricate and tap. Make sure this is going in straight, and we are very fortunate that we have this much room. You guys have seen me work on a lot of big V8s where there's a frame in the way, or a DeLorean. Well, with a very weak V6, also with a gigantic frame in the way. That stinks. This is easy. This is cutting new threads like butter. Feels really good. All right, that's about maxed out there, so now we can back out. Okay, with our new threads cut into our cylinder head, we can, well, install our new threads. This is gonna make it the same thread pitch as the factory stud. And it's just gonna go in like this. All right, then the tool pulls right out. Here you can see our beautiful new threads. We'll use a little anti-seize on the stud as well. And then we can simply thread it on in. The new stud allows you to stick a 5mm socket on here and tighten it up. If you notice on these, there's nothing. You have to have a stud tool or just put it in by hand if you can. I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit, using a wire brush on the mating surfaces so we get a good seal. And then while we're here, we're just gonna clean up the threads a little bit on these other studs. No reason to replace all of these. It'd be a ton of work to get these out of the head too, and if they're doing their job, they're doing their job. You know what, there's no reason to install this manifold yet. It's drying anyway. So I'm gonna soak this in some engine degreaser while we do some other work. Oh yeah, it's gonna look pretty. And that other work is gonna be the replacement of this timing belt and a bunch of other stuff, and it starts with removing the spark plugs. Well, and that starts with removing this cool plate. Plate coming off, and we have 4 spark plug wires to remove, because you know this is a 4-cylinder. I'll put these off to the side. And now we have 4 super easy spark plugs to do. Break them free by hand. And then we can zip out with the gun. Next, we're gonna stick a long extension down into the cylinder right on top of the piston. And then we're gonna remove my super cool inky wheels. I promise this will make sense soon. Hello, CTSV brakes, and yes, I've decided I'm gonna leave the V. It just looks so cool, but right behind it is why we took the wheels off, and that would be the balancer. We need to turn the engine. Hang on, let's get this out of the way. It's destroyed anyway. Not a whole lot holding this in. Huh, I have a mystery blue wire. Where's that going? It's going right in here. Okay, I'm glad I'm doing this. Definitely needs a little bit of a clean out, and this fell off. This one fell off, and now this one fell off. How none of this stuff didn't fall off driving it, I have no idea, but I got lucky. One of the reasons I really wanted to do the timing belt was to fix a few oil leaks as well. You can see it's been leaking for a long time. There's a big gasket underneath this block here, and a couple up above there that I'm gonna replace while we're in there. So with all the plugs out, it's really easy to turn. So I'm gonna go like that, and we're gonna see our extension move up. Oh, just past it. Okay. As soon as that's at top dead, right about there, stop moving. But we're not there yet. See this mark here? It needs to be on this side. Same thing over here. They need to line up, so we need to go around again. We're almost there. See this little notch on the crank? Right when we get to about here, this should stop going up right there. Oh, and look at that. Our teeth are lining up. That's all it takes to get into time, but make sure that you're double checking your cam gears, because even if the little notch on the harmonic balancer is lined up, it could be 180 off and at a totally different valve event. So now we know we have triple checked, 2 cam gears, 1 crank, that everything's in time. Let's clean this up too. There we go. You can see that's the 10-degree mark, and then there's a T for top, and that's what we're lined up with. And you know what? Let's do an oil change on the old Eclipse. Been one last year, so it's about due. There we go. Into the black hole of oil containment. With the oil drained, we're gonna drain the coolant as well, because we're gonna lose some of that when we remove the cooler for the oil, because it's cooled, but coolant, because coolant is super cool. And I still don't have a coolant drain. So I just hold old bottles up to it like this. It's professional shop people. With all the fluids drained, let's remove the oil cooler assembly. A couple of really loose and nasty connectors. No idea how these even worked. And some 12s. All right, I'll pull these bolts out, and I think we can slide this out of the way. Yeah, it looks like the timing cover overlaps. I removed the bolt here, and maybe we could shimmy it out, maybe not, but we gotta remove this anyway, so let's do that. I gotta say, doing the exhaust manifold studs on an engine like this is easy. We have a ton of room there, but now we have this to deal with, so we're paying for it. Let's loosen up this power steering pump first. This also does the belt adjustment. That's a 13. Okay, with this loosened up, we can remove the belt like that. I'll leave it chilling for a minute. And you know what? Let's get this power steering pump out of the way. All right, let's see if we can shimmy this thing out of here. There's an AC line in the way. And I'm not exactly sure why, but there's an electrical plug on the power steering pump. Maybe a sensor, something like that. Let's see if I can sneak this around. Ah, that's the ticket right there. Okay, sweet. Get out of here, power steering pump. We'll put you right here. What's so nice about these cheap cupcake bins is that we can use a new one for each step of the project. So this is everything to do with the exhaust manifold. And now this has everything to do with our timing belt job. And I've labeled things, power steering for all of these. We're never gonna remember where all this stuff goes if it's in a big pile. I don't mean to keep harping on about the cupcake bins. I'm not sponsored by the cupcake bin manufacturing industry, but I've been using things like this for the last 20 something years. They work great, but this is so much better. And where did the term harping come from? I don't even know really what a harp is. Maybe back in like the 1640s when harps were popular, someone was just wailing on a harp and someone was like, hey, stop harping around. And that's where it was created. Okay, getting this bracket out of the way too. Okay. That's loose. Remove this bolt for the alternator. I already got one down below. And now the alternator moves back and forth. This is the tensioner for its own belt. And now if I remove the big bolt on the bottom, this should shimmy its way out. Shimmy. Ah, we're almost done shimming. Shim, 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 shim. Wow, look at this failure waiting to happen. I am so glad we are in here right now. This hose is gonna blow up. Can't even get it off. I push the clamp down. Now I gotta slice it. Give it the old razor shank. I told you not to mess with me. Give it the old pry bar. This thing does not want to leave its home. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. I think this is good. Just kidding. Get off. I'm gonna lose coolant. I don't care. I thought I drained it all, but apparently I didn't. Ah, no. No. It's nothing a little Princeton Tiger shirt can't soak up. I get my rags from people in the neighborhood. They just drop off bags of rags. I don't think I know anyone that has ever gone to Princeton, but apparently someone in my neighborhood went to Princeton or is a Princeton, I'm gonna assume Tigers fan. And also, sorry, Princeton Tigers, for destroying this shirt. Comment down below if you're a Princeton Tiger fan. Oh man, I'm finding some gems in here. Alpha Phi, it's a perfect fit. I've got a jack holding up the engine and transmission right now because we're gonna remove this engine mount for even more access. All right, you can see the engine kind of went down a little bit. I got the power steering reservoir removed as well. And that gives us access to this bolt right here. And with a rag on a pry bar, we can now shimmy this out of the way. There we go, cool. Oh, that's beautiful. And you can see someone already installed a polyurethane upper engine mount, so it's kind of nice. That makes it a lot easier to remove the belts. This is the pulley for the water pump. It's in a weird spot, but these bolts aren't too tight, so you can actually hold it and loosen them all up by hand. All right, pulley's coming out. There's our water pump, even more room. Oh, and then right behind it is a little mini pulley too. Look at that. Okay, there's 3 pieces to this whole plastic timing cover. This middle one's broken, and I should be able to find a new one. Let's get the crank pulley off next. We'll soak everything for a few minutes. This is funny because I installed the big brakes. I can't fit my tool in here anymore. Big brake problems. Let's see if the 3/8 will do it. Oh, no problem. Look at that. Now we have 4 little guys. There we go. Balance her off. One more pulley coming out right here. Just held in with these 2 12s. And now outside of the AC compressor, we have every front end accessory off. I've removed all the 10 millimeters that hold this cover on, so it should slide right off now. There we go. Okay, yeah. I am definitely glad we are doing this. Look at all the oil in here. Eventually the oil can soak into the timing belt, weaken it, and it can break. Our belt though is pretty dry. It's actually in really good shape, but that's okay. I'll feel much better with a new one in there. Well, I've noticed a couple issues with whoever installed this belt however long ago. One of them is that this gear is not lined up. See this little white mark? There's a dot there. It's supposed to line up right here. So this engine has 2 balance shafts. There's one here and one here. here. Some guys delete this and then the alignment of this doesn't make any difference, but mine still has them, so this needs to be aligned, otherwise the engine can vibrate. And I gotta say, I always thought this thing did vibrate a little bit too much, and I kind of chalked it up to the polyurethane engine mount, but that could definitely be it. Something else I don't really like is the tension of this timing belt. It's pretty loose. That is because they don't have the tension done properly at all. So this is a little trick. We take a drill bit. This measures in at 3.8 millimeters, and it should fit snug in between here. And you can see it's very loose. These are all really good things to find before you go to the dyno and pump like, I don't know, 25 PSI of boost into an engine. Before we take this belt off, I'm just gonna mark the old one, and you do this in a few spots. When you're replacing the belt, this isn't really necessary, but it's one of those like triple check your timing things. When we get the new one on, we'll count the teeth in between our marks, and if everything's good, we're good. This is our tensioner pulley. So we're gonna loosen this up, and now you can see here, we got a bunch of play. There we go. Now we're gonna remove the automatic tensioner as well. And a bolt there, and a bolt there. This guy comes out. And then if you see this pin here, it pushes up on this arm and moves the pulley. So we basically have two ways of adjusting the tension on this belt. With all of the tension off, we can remove our timing belt. And there it is. She's gone. Made in the USA, but no idea when this was done. Next, we'll loosen up the bolt for the pulley for the belt for the balance shaft. And right there, this is also an adjustment point. You can see here it's oblong, and that sets your tension. There we go. Now I'm gonna remove the pickup for the crank signal. Quarter drive ratchet for the win there. All right, here's our pickup, and we'll kind of just put this to the side for now. And I'd put this bolt back in. We're gonna remove it though again. All right, this is a really thick washer that comes right out. We shouldn't need a puller for this. It should come off fairly easy. There we go. Cool. And do not bend this plate. This is for the crank pickup. It's the reluctor wheel. It's very thin, and if you damage this, you're not gonna get a good signal. So now we can remove this belt and this gear, which is key weight. And there is our front crank seal that's probably been leaking for a very long time. Before I replace the crank seal, I wanna get to the cam seals. I think they are the majority of the leak up top. You can see the oil right there and some right in here. So the leak has just come all the way down from the top of the engine. And since we have to remove those factory cam gears anyway, might as well go with these beauties and a clear cover. Oh, and I'm using Mitsubishi parts for basically everything on this project. In order to do the cam gears and the seals, valve cover needs to come off. So many valve cover bolts. We need a new pan. Okay, this should pull off now. I was the last guy to put this on. I already did a valve cover gasket, and now it's not coming off. There we go. Just needed a little persuasion. Cool. Get out of here. Now we can remove the 17 millimeter cam bolt. Cam number 1 coming off. I mean, cam gear, that's not the cam. That's the cam. Whew, that took a lot. I think these are 100 foot-pounds with Loctite. Oh yeah, and these seals were definitely the main cause of our oil leak. Look at that, it's puddling right at the bottom. This one's not that bad, but look at all of this. Yeah, that's fun. Next, we're gonna remove the cam caps right over these seals. And you'll have to pry these up just a little. All right, there we go. Okay, that's coming out. And the seal should slide right out too. Like that. This is what it looks like up close, and you can see this engine's in really good shape. There's no wear at all. The cam lobes look perfect as well, nice and shiny. 240,000 miles, people. So I'm just gonna go around here and clean before we get our new seal in. Here's the new cam seal, and I'm gonna use a little bit of RTV on the outside. Definitely do not get any of this on the inside. That actually needs a light film of oil. And we can slide this over the cam, fit it in just like that. With everything cleaned up and the RTV going out a little bit past the seal, we can reinstall our cam cap like that. Now I have these bolts in here by hand, but before we tighten these, I'm going to go ahead and install our new cam gear, because this basically pushes against the seal and seats it where it needs to go. And remember how our dowels are supposed to face up? Apparently on the Evo it's different. So we'll line this up for a non-Evo, like that. And then a little blue Loctite on our cam bolt, and we'll install the bolt like so. All right, that's good. And then these are 15 foot-pounds. All right, we're done. one cam seal down. Something I want to show you guys on the second seal is that we have our RTV, but we also have some engine assembly lube where you can use oil on the inside. And then it'll slide on here nice and easy. And with this part of the cap, we're going to do some engine assembly lube as well so that it's properly lubricated upon first start. Cap goes on, little mallet love tap. And for the intake cam gear, there is a reluctor wheel for the cam sensor. So we got to swap that onto this. Oh, these are not very tight at all. They are little screws after all. And this come right off and go right there. Actually, let's clean this guy up first. It is pretty nasty, or it was. Beautiful now. Well, not yet. It will be. See, nice and pretty, and now it's not reluctant on sending cam information. I'm going to the wrong one. Okay, stop making jokes, Alex. Fix the car. There we go. Wow, that is snug. Okay, even though these screws require like no torque whatsoever, I'm gonna put a little Loctite on them just because. This is important. You don't need this thing rattling loose and throwing off our cam position sensor reading. We don't. Okay, now this beauty is ready to go on. And we'll pick our non-Evo hole. Okay, here comes 100 foot-pounds. Oh yeah. Okay, you know you're getting old when you're doing stuff like that and you hear like, you know, torque wrench sounds in your back and stuff. But oddly enough, I just got a little tweak and I feel great now. It's been like 8 hours, my back's kind of hurting, but I'm re-energized. I like cracked something in my spine in a good way. The cam seals and adjustable cam gears are done, although for now we're just gonna leave these set at 0, but you can play around with the cam timing now. But I think it's time for us to play around with replacing this nasty water pump. Looks like there's a total of 4 bolts that hold this in, so I'm gonna go around and loosen those bolts. I'm gonna be replacing the timing belt tensioner pulley, so we'll get that out of the way right now too. I think it'll give us more room with the water pump. Hang on, more stuff's coming out. All right. This is also for the adjustment of the timing belt. That's where the pulley sits. All the bolts are out. Oh, more coolant. Yay. Oh, that's great. Aha, though. I caught you. I caught you, coolant, with this beautiful, beautiful bed sheet right here. Thank you, whoever gave me that. It is very nice. And so is this water pump coming right out. There you go. Yay. We got it out. Let's see. I gotta say, there's no play in here. The water pump looks nasty, but it's not its fault. It's probably a great water pump that really doesn't need to be replaced. It's just had oil all over it, but big while you're in there when you're doing any timing belt job is a water pump. Pretty much any pulley that is available to replace. If you remove everything off the front of the engine, you got a ton of room in here. And yes, I know what you guys are thinking, Alex, wouldn't this have been easier to drop the engine? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's too late now. I'm not doing it now. Ha! Remember when I said I was gonna take this out first? Yeah, we can finally take it out. More fluids, possibly? Wow, this is so bad. We started that job so long ago, we were only on our second cupcake tray. All right, we're gonna let this thing soak for a little bit. There you go. We'll come back to that a little later. Yeah, might as well just throw this in there too. We got another pulley coming out. This is getting replaced too. Considering how difficult this would be to replace and how old it is, we are doing away with the crank sensor. And by doing away, I mean we're just simply replacing it. This looks much nicer. And yeah, these wires are super brittle. I'm surprised this even works. Okay, I think we finally have everything off that we're gonna replace. So let's do a little cleaning. Woo, this is gonna be nice. All of that leaking oil and grime from those bad cam seals be gone. Be gone. Guys, I'm getting a little carried away over here. I'm spraying everything. I bet this bed sheet never thought I would see this. Pretty nasty bed sheet. Gotten a lot of this so far. I'm using a brush, trying to get in everywhere. Woo! Oh yeah. Getting in everywhere. Everywhere. Oh my gosh, I should have taken the engine out. Okay, after about 30 minutes of this insanity, this is what we got. Much better. I mean, it practically looks brand new in here. I had to save my efforts for what's gonna get covered up eventually. So I still, you know, need to clean up stuff in this area, but I can do that with a pressure washer outside. But yeah, overall, the engine's looking pretty sparkly clean. I was able to clean up the side of the engine as well, of which you'll see about 0.02% of, actually this aluminum pipe. I think you might be able to see some of that. No, probably not. The turbo covers it up, but we know that aluminum pipe on the side of this engine block is clean. Okay, thank you very much, bed sheet. You've definitely done your job here. Sorry, one last job for you. I know you're spent. There we go. clean the floor. And now your final destination. All right, we're back outside with the exhaust manifold, and I'm gonna change the color from silver to black. This looks pretty good as is, but I think on the car, it might get a little dirty, and also it doesn't really match anything else on the car. I usually go with black, and yeah, I'm gonna go that way. And shout out to my friend Nick and former roommate when I used to be single and live in the city for this shirt. I borrowed this shirt from him before we went out one night, and I never gave it back, and I actually wore it for like another decade, but now it's a rag. We had some good times, shirt. Yeah, I think this is gonna look much better. And eventually the intake tubes will be a satin black as well. And I think it'll match well. It's a white car with black accents. I don't need to introduce a totally different color like silver. Much better. We'll let this dry overnight. All right, so we have a clean engine. I just cleaned up the floor. I have a slightly cleaner shirt. Let's start reassembly so we can get this thing fired up. I left the old crank seal in since we're doing a bunch of nasty cleaning work. Now we have to get this guy out. These can be difficult if there's no ridge. So I've made a little gap so we can pry it out. And whether you're using a flat blade screwdriver or a punch or whatever, you want to punch into the old seal, not into the engine. And these aren't in very tight, so you can pry it off like that and not damage anything. Same as the cam seals, we have a little bit of RTB on the outside and lubricant on the inside. And then we just slide the seal on, get it centered by hand. And then we're just simply pushing the seal in, making sure it is flat all the way around. Then you can take your old seal, slide it back on, and you just gently tap all the way around, so you're using the old seal as a tool. And luckily this one just bottoms out, so you know where to stop. Then just feel all the way around, make sure it's even, and you're done. We're gonna go back together basically in reverse order. So we have a brand new idler bearing that goes right there. All right. Click. That's done and feels great. Next is the water pump, so we have to replace the seal on this aluminum tube. Oh, wow, yeah, this was bad. Look at that, it broke, very brittle. Clean everything up, got a new seal on with some lubrication. Next, we have our brand new water pump, and it comes with a paper gasket, so I did a gentle light coating of RTV on both sides, and we have one bolt in here ready to go. This requires a high level of shimmying, especially if you don't want to mess up your RTV. Oh, all right, I think I may have gotten it. Yay! Oh my gosh, okay, cool. Before we start any bolts, let's slide this onto the pipe. Oh yeah, nice. All right, water pump is done. So we went from this, I added some RTV on there, I was wiping it off, all the way to this. And I gotta say, this AC line kind of just gets in the way of everything. I just got done cleaning up the timing belt tensioner arm and the bolt and the washer, and we're gonna use a little bit of synthetic axle grease right inside of here because this does pivot, and keep in mind, there's no engine oil lubrication here. So this is a moving part that requires some kind of grease, and this should do really well. And it gets installed right here like that. Very tight tolerance. Nice and smooth though now. With the bolt-in washer installed, I can go ahead and tighten this up. Exciting stuff, people. We have gears going on. So this is the first one. This is the outside with the H. I don't know what that stands for, but it's keywayed. And so we know it can only go on like that. Next up is the belt for the oil pump. And I just want to point a couple things out. Right now, we have this little dot on the gear lined up perfectly, and this lined up with this. That's where you want it. And now we can slide the belt on right there, and like that. This is a brand new tensioner that we install right here. And before you fully tighten it, you want to push up on the pulley with your thumb there. And you don't want the belt too tight, you don't want it too loose. This is about perfect. This is one of those things you do by feel. That's about the amount of movement you want. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. With the oil pump in time, it's time for our reluctor wheel for the crank pickup. But I got a new one because they're really cheap, and these have to be absolutely perfect, so I don't want to risk it if it's wobbled out at all. If you drop it or anything like that, just replace it, and it just slides on like that. And now we can install our brand new crank pickup right here. With the pickup bolts tightened up, we have our front crank gear, also keywayed. All right, guys, it is time for the timing. And I want to show you a little trick. And I just want to preface this by saying that this is just like a triple check. You really need to make sure the timing belt lines up with all your marks, which I'm going to show you guys again once we go in with the new one, but this is a triple check. So on top here, these are two belts. So this is the old one on top. This is the new one on the bottom. I've zip tied them together so that all the ribs line up perfectly. This is a great check also to make sure you have the right length belt. But I made a couple of marks on the old belt, as you can see here in white. This is at the bottom. At the crank, I just picked two random spots. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna transfer those to the new belt. There we go. Okay, make sure all the ribs line up perfectly, which they do. I also did this up top at the cams. All right, my little white marker is running out. I'll have to redo that, but you get the idea. We're marking that. Okay, this seriously doesn't even work anymore. Anyway, I'll get new white paint, but what we've done here is we've made 4 points on this belt that should line up precisely with the corresponding white mark that I made on the engine, which I'll show you here in a minute. So let's get to timing. So what we want to double check right now is that the center of that V lines up with the bottom of that mark. You can verify that this arrow is lined up with this mark as well. And we want to clock our oil pump properly. All right, so now this is our new belt, and I'll show you guys what's going on here with the white dots that I made. So you can see this one lines up here, and then if we wrap around, the other one lines up there. So that's a good reference point. And this is an old white mark someone else made. Now with the belt on top, we can slide these on as well. And I can tell this is off. See the white line there? It should be even with this one. Slide this off. I have a wrench on the cam and we'll turn it into position. Next, we're gonna set the tension on the timing belt with this specialty tool. It's hard to show in the car, so I'll show you in the old one, but we're gonna be sticking this in like this and then turning an eccentric. I mean, seriously guys, do I even need to say anything? This looks like a crying baby right here. No, why are you replacing me with a new one? I don't know why the crying baby is an old man, but I'm not very talented at voices, if you haven't noticed. Goodbye, old man. All right, so right now you can see here we have a flopping timing belt, and we're gonna turn this until that goes away, right about here. Now I'll hold this with my thumb, and then we'll tighten up the center bolt here on the pulley so it stays solid. Once you're satisfied with your tension, you can pull the grenade pin right here for the automatic tensioner. Oh, all right, goodbye. And now our drill bit fits in perfectly. And there's a spec for the gap you need there. It's 3.8 to like 4.5. So I use a drill bit that's about 4 millimeters and we're good. Which, if you're curious, is a 5/32 drill bit. All right, now the final step when you're doing timing is to crank the engine over by hand a few times. Just make sure no valves are hitting pistons or anything. You don't want to just start it, because if you messed up the timing, you're going to destroy your engine at that point. And if you do it by hand, you'll be able to feel when those valves hit the piston, and then you stop. Just very light pressure. Don't go crazy here. She's spinning good though. Oh yeah. So I'm almost on the 6th revolution. On the 6th revolution, everything should line back up again. There's 3 different marks here, but I'll just show you one that's easiest. So right there. And then my white lines, of course, match up. And that lines up too. If we look up top, the cam gear lines line up perfectly. Here's yet another way to make sure you got this right. That hole's got to be centered with this cap. And so does this one. This is the only one with the reluctor wheel because it has the cam sensor on the intake cam. I've cleaned up the oil cooler a little bit, but we need to remove this big nut. Impact does the trick, because there's a seal here and it's probably original, super flat and leaking. All right, this actually wasn't too bad to dig out. Okay, with both parts cleaned up, I've brought some Mercedes-Benz sunroof grease into this project. Gloves are ripped. We're moving here, people. These are good signs. And this is a nice, fresh new seal. Not gonna lie, I kind of forgot how this was clocked, but these are just little minor details. I'll do the final torque once it's on the car so we can move this around a bit. New gasket going on. Oh, this is gonna look good. It's starting to look like an engine again. Okay, got 2 bolts in. Hold yourself. All right, so this is what everything under the plastic timing cover looked like before, and here is what it looks like after a lot of work. A lot of cleaning and a lot of work, but wow, this is looking fantastic. Let's keep going. All right, I've test fit the manifold of the turbo on a few times because I had to figure out some coolant hoses. If you guys remember, when I installed this aftermarket turbo, it's supposed to have coolant running through it, and I didn't have the right fitting. So now I do. They are installed, and this is probably my favorite part. I chopped up an AMG, a C63 coolant hose, because it just happened to work perfectly. It's got a 90 there, and then the other end had a 90 here. It's perfect. Let's go mount this up. I clocked it so you can see AMG right when you pop the hood. It's kind of cool. I'm so glad I went with black. This just looks great. Wait till you see it on here. Hopefully I don't scratch it. All right, over the studs you go. There we go. Sweet. I tightened up all of the manifold stud nuts. Here is our freshly painted exhaust manifold header, if you will. And look at this, front and center, a coolant hose off of my C63 507 edition. It's the little things in life, people, the little things. And the unexpected. I didn't really know I was gonna do that. It just worked out. It's coming together now, people. We got a couple new hoses there. We'll zip in the exhaust. I've wrapped up a lot of odds and ends. We have the oil drain. The new one I bought does not fit, so I had to go back with the old one. We have the oil feed, and I threw the harmonic balancer on. We are gonna start this engine without the cover on so we can watch everything. I like to do that after doing a timing belt job just to make sure everything's okay. I am replacing the spark plugs, and we're gonna gap these down to about 24 thousandths. So you guys have been here with me to gapple these. I invented that. We're gonna use our super cool gapper tool. So we're gonna stick a 22 thousandths feeler in there. Crank it down until you can't move it. And there's a little spring back, and now we should have 24, perfect. Valve cover gasket is installed, and you wanna put a little bit of RTV at this corner plug here around the cam caps as well, just on the corners. That's it. Now we can plop this beauty on like that. And I know what you're thinking, Alex, why didn't you paint this? Like, this looks good, why not do the same? I'm going to, guys, I'm gonna have this powder coated along with the intake tubes. It's gonna be all satin black and nice, but yeah, I just didn't have time. With the valve cover torqued, it is spark plug time. Start them all by hand. Plug wires on. Now it's time for some oil. And I actually saved the old oil. It just had a few hundred miles on it, but we will be changing it afterwards. We're just gonna use this to fire it up and run it through a little bit, clean everything out. All right, guys, here we go. First start. Idling down. Have no oil spewing out anywhere. We're good. I like it. I like it. It's idling really high right now. I might have left a vacuum line off or something. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think I left a vacuum line off and some other stuff. But anyway, we're good. It was just a nice little test run. Everything is working well with the timing. No leaks, no nothing. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good to continue on. Well, this is really weird. We have engine oil leaking from the back. Like, that's the front of the engine. This is the back. From where, though? Guys, this is so weird. What you're looking at right now is the head gasket, and there's oil coming out of the head gasket area. That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, literally how long you saw me run the engine was, that's it. That's how long it's been running. It's running fine outside of some vacuum leaks. Why is the head gasket leaking oil? I'm gonna spray this clean and we'll run it again. All right, let's see. There's our spot right there. Get out of town. No, how did this even happen? What in the world is going on here? How do you blow a head gasket? I mean, this thing was fine. It was totally fine. You can't blow a head gasket by running an engine for 20 seconds. I mean, did a timing belt. That's it. It was fine before. Not that this thing could build boost at idle or anything, but it wasn't even connected. Like, I didn't do anything. It just started up and ran great. Guys, I'm seriously in disbelief right now. This is the graphite head gasket. You can tell it's the stock head gasket, and it is just leaking oil like crazy. And you can tell, I mean, you can see the material is just blown out. Look at that. Guys, I've never seen this before. I mean, I've seen bad head gaskets leak engine oil, like that's a thing. But this head gasket wasn't leaking at all. I ran it for just a few seconds, didn't even like move the needle. It didn't overheat or anything like that. It's leaking oil, which is like a different failure altogether. Yeah, coincidence? We just did all this stuff and now that? I mean, that would be the weirdest thing in the whole world. I mean, it does have 240,000 miles on a graphite head gasket. Those aren't the best. It's just odd that this wasn't leaking before. I mean, I never drive this car though. I've probably, like literally all the driving I've ever done is what you've seen in the video. I've never taken it home once, but still, this is just very weird. I mean, it runs good. But the head gasket's bad, which you can't tune a car in the dyno tomorrow. Tomorrow's the tune day. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I was trying to get this all done, and yeah, I was almost there. Now we gotta like take it all apart again. The head's gotta come off, and I gotta check the block. I'm sure it's fine. It's an iron block. We'll have to send the head out. Of course, I'll do ARP head studs. I'm just blown away, guys. Seriously, have you ever seen this? A head gasket just blow out of nowhere after a timing belt job. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear theories as well as to how this happened. I don't know. I'm texting people right now and I'm getting just, what? That's insane. You ran it for 20 seconds and it blew the head gasket, but the oil part of the head gasket? That doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, I don't know. That'll do it for this video. This is a very weird ending. I thought we were gonna be ripping this thing on the dyno on E85 and making all sorts of cool noises and power and whatnot, but we're not. Glad this didn't happen on the dyno. It would have blown up and spewed oil and stuff all over the dyno, which would have been horrible. So I'm glad it happened, but I'm not at all. I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Anyway, I hope you guys feel that you enjoyed this video. We got a ton of work done, just pure wrenching. If you guys appreciate this kind of content, if you want to support the channel, now that I have, you know, more money to spend on something, subscribe, like the video, share the video with your friends, and I hope you guys have a way better day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I'll definitely see you in the next one. Have a good day or night. I don't even know what I'm saying. On the dyno. So it's about to get something in here. Next, we're gonna remove something that's out of focus. Okay. Sorry, Max, I know I pressed record there because I thought I was ready. And I am ready. I just forgot where I put this. Okay, here we go. And let's hope the Eclipse, does, what is it? All right, guys, here we good. Here we good. Next, we're gonna remove the oil drain. Okay. Because if you get your drill bit in here and get all, what did I just say? And now we have 4, and some 12s. Okay. The battery literally just fell out. Next, we're gonna loosen up something. This is what this looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And remember how our dowels need to fight. And remember how our dowels are supposed to face up. Apparently on the Evo, it's